We're here at Cuby HQ in Minsk, Belarus, with CEO and co-founder Aleh Kandrashou. It is 4:30 in the morning for me, and in the afternoon here for Oleg, who has gotten a crew for the first ever remote filming of S3. We've just completed the remote filming of the first episode, and now we're sitting down here to talk details about Cuby and Oleg's background. Oleg, thank you for having and hosting me virtually in your HQ.
Thank you, Jason. You're welcome.
My first question is, what is your personal background that led you to founding Cuby? And feel free to go into a little bit more detail maybe than the main episode.
Well, I have physicist background. I'm an engineer. I set up a bunch of manufacturing and engineering company in Eastern Europe. The biggest of them is called Incata. It's 200 plus engineering outsourcing hardware company who help deep tech startups to grow from idea to mass production. I have PhD in economy. I wrote a book, and it's an interesting book that the human vector, how to govern the engineers in the big engineering teams. And all my life, what I did, I take the scientist who almost finished his development, and with my factories and with my engineers, I help them to grow from idea to mass production. And 5 years ago, we made a decision to build our own headquarters and begin to communicate with the construction industry and understand that in comparison with manufacturing is totally dysfunctional, because the same team can do the same project and the result can be different and the price can be different. And the same situation was in automotive industry in the beginning of the last century, where there were a lot of design bureaus. All of them produced different type of cars with unpredictable quality and with very high price, until the Henry Ford come up with a conveyor, and right now we can have a good quality car with a reasonable price. And we tried to do the same, but in more complicated construction industry.
What about you specifically led you into an interest in leading engineers and manufacturing and physics? Was there something as a kid that you liked about it?
It's a long story because we made a decision to find the industry where we can change something. And we find the industry that most conservative as possible and as biggest as possible as a market. The construction industry is the same, because even there is a joke that if Jesus will come back on our earth, only one profession that he can recognize, it will be the construction worker, because he was a carpenter and nothing changed 2,000 years.
Now, you personally, like when you were younger, what led you? I mean, you could have done other things in life. What led you down this path?
Do you feel when you assemble, for example, something like to assemble small kinder house in your backyard, when you did that, you look on the result of your job and you feel honest with that. And in my life, everything that I'm doing, this is with the same scenario, but I did a lot of stuff like that, and I feel honest and comfortable, and I feel that I changed something in the world when I see a new machine, when I see new kit of parts, or see a new house or new case studies that we have built.
Can you talk about the technology stack Cuby is using to do what it's doing?
Cuby itself, it's a huge engineering project where we use different type of technologies. We use, the mechanical technologies like a laser cutting system, bending system, and so on. But also we have a big software department where we are producing, as a software to operate, the factories, to operate the assembling process. For example, we use Unreal Engine to doing a virtual twin of everything that we're doing in the construction and the factory, and it helps us just to generate a video instruction for unskilled labor. Plus, we have a game where unskilled labor come to the factory. He can play the game in 1 month roughly on his computer, and after that, he come to the real factory and he 100% know what to do, because the virtual duplication of the factories help him just to operate and guide him what to do.
What emerging tech or research do you think will have the most impact on you and your industry, what you're building over the next 5 to 10 years?
I think that robotics and Android robotics. And we're already doing all our technology ready to that, because as I told you, that we have a virtual twin of our factory in virtual reality and Unreal Engine. That's why we have a very complicated algorithm that, like an Uber for the workers, when the worker comes to the working place, he pushes the button on his phone and the system gives him exact task, what he needs to do right now based on the pipeline of the houses that they need to produce and his personal skill. And when he finishes it, he pushes the button and the system gives him another task. At the same time, the system gives the task to the avatar into virtual duplication of the factory. And that's why we have a digital tasks, what to do. And based on that, we can give these digital tasks to the future androids. And that's why our goal somehow and sometime just to replace some of the people with the androids when it will be available, and we will be ready, to do as soon as possible. And I think that this technology will 100% affect on our industry.
What's been the hardest technical challenge you've solved to date, and how did you engineer out of it?
The hardest stuff is, well, as an engineer, I can explain you that the harder stuff is just to design and to produce simple stuff. For example, when you need to design the rocket, there is no budget for that. You can use any money that you can use. But when you need to design spoon, you have a lot of competitors that will produce the spoons, and you have a budget to design it and budget to produce it. And that's why one of the hardest stuff that we did, we take the standard construction technology, but we use robotics and CNC machines just to do materials that already exist in the market. And this is one of the hardest stuff that we did, and we win it. That's why 50% of our machines in the factory we design and produce ourselves.
What do most hard tech startups get wrong, in your opinion?
Based on my experience, one of the main mistakes of the startups is they don't understand their market. They think that they think that they can solve the big problem. Maybe it's a big problem, but the market is not big. This is one of the main mistakes, because I explained to you that my previous company where I work, and I own it, and right now this company is working, it's work with these deep tech startups. And the Incata finishes 5 projects per month, roughly. And I saw a lot of mistakes where there's a brilliant idea, but the market is so small that this brilliant idea can't affect on the market at all.
What's something that you wish more people asked you about when building Cuby?
Do you mean the uncommon question? Our goal was that everything should be common for them, because our strategy to disrupt the market and to conquer the market is to use already existing technology, and that's why we need to provide something that should be familiar to any participants of the market. And that's why, for me, it's very difficult just to come up with the uncommon question. If I come up with uncommon question, it means that the Cuby itself, will not work.
Okay, this question's a little weird, but can you describe how you think? Like what mental models or filters do you often use? How does your brain react to a problem?
Well, I'm a physicist, and all my life I'm trying to find the physics analogs. And if I will find the physics analogs in business or in socials, I can predict how the system will behave itself. And roughly 6 years ago, I wrote a book. It's called The Human Vector. And the book, we saw that any employee, we can compare any employee with a vector, where the length of the vector, this is his personal skill, and the angle, this is his loyalty or philosophical angle of the employee. And initially, the effectiveness of the company or of the group of the people, this is a total vector sum of all its employees. We take the book of vector algebra and have different operations, how to govern the people, how to operate them. And that's why our philosophy is trying to find physics analysis and everything that surrounds us. And if we'll find it, we can predict what's going on.
What's on your mind for this next phase of Cuby?
Yeah, right now, we finished our R&D phase where we build the first test factory. We test the process, we build the buildings, we come up with the technology itself. And our next goal is just to begin to scale this technology to the masses. That's why we will begin to open these mobile microfactories near big cities in the US and to provide, the good quality buildings and distance around 300 miles around the factories.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but a big thing for Cuby thus far and its success has been taking advantage of a much cheaper labor cost in Eastern Europe with skilled labor. How will this translate as you begin to scale up to America and things like that?
Well, do you mean the factories itself? When we will open the factories, we will not use the cheap labor because we will need to use unskilled labor in the US. Because all of the process in our factories is designed in that approach that you can use unskilled labor, and the unskilled labor will not allow it to make a mistake because the process is designed somehow that the people shouldn't make a mistake. And in this case, our goal is also to provide the labor, to provide the jobs for the unskilled labor and to provide the jobs for that group of the people for whom it's very difficult to find a job.
For people today who are looking to make an impact in the world and change the world, how would you suggest they approach figuring that out?
To make mistakes. It means that people who want to change the world, they need to do more action as possible. And it means that they will make as much mistakes as possible. And the good, businessmen, the numbers of of mistakes should be a little bit less than, the numbers of good stuff that they can do. That's why more iterations that they can do, more probability that they will change the world.
Last question. What is your current life philosophy?
Me personally? Well, as I explained to you about the vectors, my current life philosophy is only to work and to find partners, employees, friends who should be with the same vector as my vector. It means that I want to spend my life and I want to spend my time only with that people who will think almost as I can think, with the same life philosophy and so on, because all of us, we're temporary in this planet. And when you feel yourself good, when you know that all the people that surround you help you, it will help you just to disrupt the market and to change the world. Because do you know that even in the company, you shouldn't spend energy on some internal barriers. You should spend this energy only for external barriers. That's why you need to have a team that will help you and not vice versa.
How would you describe your own human vector?
Vector is very related to stuff that me personally, it's difficult to explain the vector because, my vector is I'm professional in engineering and I'm a serial entrepreneur. I'm doing the business and I'm thinking about life that all of us is temporary there, and we need to do as much as possible to that time that we are on this planet that will help other people. This is my main life philosophy.
We did it. This is awesome. Thank you. Thank you. The first ever virtual S3 episode.
Thank you, Jason. You're welcome.